Today's questions are all about cameras and settings. Let's get to the answers. Ken says, most cameras have many attractions like active D lighting or portrait settings. What draws you to them, like 36 megapixels for fine detail or enlargements or faster frames per second, or just one thing? Well, hi Ken. And I have to say that it's really the sum of the parts. If there were just one thing that I wanted from that next body, it would probably mean that I'm not focusing enough on my technique and too much on the technicals. My goal is to take pictures that have the camera work for me regardless of the situation. So bigger, more expensive options, they have more features and functions, and that's good. And sometimes those features can save the day. On any given day, though, I don't know exactly which function will be my lifesaver. Generally speaking, all those features and functions are useless if I'm not getting myself to the right place at the right time to get the shots that I crave. Ammon asks, what camera and settings would you choose for shooting pet birds? Well, I'd use a DSLR, continuous focus, and a lens just suited for the situation. I'd have to consider, do I want a close-up that shows detail in the eye and feathers, or do I want the bird flapping around the environment? In other words, I'd compose the shot in my head first and then select the gear and settings to match that vision. Kawan asks, have you tried the Sigma DP3 Merrill? No, I can't figure it out. It's a point and shoot with an equivalent field of view of 75 millimeters. I'm not saying it's a bad camera, I just don't know who it's for. A point and shoot photographer might be turned off by the price and fairly narrow field of view. A portrait photographer is probably already shooting with a DSLR. If I had one of those in my hands, I'm sure I'd have fun with it, but I can think of better ways to spend $700. We all have different tastes, and I'm sure there are people who have it and love it. Ivan wants to know, is the Nikon AW1 a good camera and is it worth the $700 price tag? Have you done a T&E with it? Our family is saving up for it and we just want to make sure it's worth the investment. Thank you. Well, the AW1 is on my nice to have list because I love the Nikon 1 system and the AW1 can readily go underwater. I haven't purchased one and I've changed directions a bit. For me, underwater and all weather is usually about sporting fun. So I went with this Garmin Verb action camera, which has decent underwater resistance, and then also a $40 underwater case is available. I would love to own the AW1, but for me, I combined the underwater capability with a more action-oriented solution. But enough about the Verb. Your question ultimately is whether the AW1 is worth the investment. Now, I've committed to the Nikon 1 system, at least the above water pieces, and I've loved every second of it. If you bumped into me out shooting in public, you might very well see me shooting with my V1. The key with the AW1 is that it's a solid system that also goes underwater. And if you like spending time underwater, I'd say it's a good value. If underwater is not something that you do a lot, you could probably get a cheap underwater point and shoot or even use an occasional underwater disposable camera. But, if you feel like a fish and you want to take pictures like one, the AW1 is a solid choice. That's all for today. Thank you for your questions, guys. My next set of questions will be all about lenses. Keep an eye on my Facebook page or at snapchick.com to see when it's available.